there's one question the world keeps asking, one question that gets millions of searches, one question that never gets answered. Why is Sheikh Hamdan's marriage never discussed publicly, not in interviews, not in royal announcements, not even in the media that covers his every move? The silence isn't accidental. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly why. Sheikh Hamdan is one of the most visible royals in the world. He shares his life openly on Instagram. Millions follow his adventures, his poetry, his horses, his travels. But when it comes to marriage, silence, complete silence. People know he got married in 2019. They know her name, Sheikha bin Said bin Thani Al Maktoum. They know she's his cousin. But that's where the information stops. No wedding photos shared publicly, no interviews, no public appearances together, no anniversary posts, nothing. And when the world asks why, the palace doesn't answer, because in royal life, silence is not absence. Silence is strategy. Let me explain something most people don't understand about royal marriages. They are not designed to satisfy public curiosity. They are designed to preserve stability. And stability requires boundaries, the kind of boundaries that turn marriage into the most private part of a very public life. Here's the first truth you need to understand. Royal privacy is not about personal preference. It's about institutional protection. When a royal figure shares their personal life publicly, they invite something dangerous, interpretation, and interpretation leads to speculation. Speculation leads to rumors. Rumors lead to instability. Royal families have learned this lesson over centuries. The more you show, the more people demand. The more you explain, the more they question. So they choose silence. Not because there's something wrong, but because silence prevents problems before they start. Sheikh Hamdan's marriage is never discussed publicly because discussing it would create expectations. Expectations of visibility, expectations of explanation, expectations of constant updates. And those expectations would never stop. In royal culture, marriage is not a performance, it is a foundation for continuity, for stability, for the future. And foundations are strongest when they're protected. This is why you'll never see the kind of royal marriage content people expect. No couple photos, no romantic posts, no public displays of affection, because those things are not part of the role. The role is representation, leadership, duty. Marriage supports that role privately, not publicly. There's another layer people rarely talk about. Sheikh Hamdan's marriage was arranged. That's not speculation, that's royal tradition. In families like his, marriage is not about romance first, it's about alignment. Sheikha is his cousin, from his mother's side, from a trusted, known family. This wasn't random. Royal families marry within trusted circles because it reduces risk. Risk of outside influence, risk of unknown loyalty, risk of instability. This is how royal systems have survived for generations. But here's what people misunderstand. Arranged doesn't mean forced, it means structured. There is respect, there is understanding, there may even be affection, but it develops differently. It develops away from cameras, away from expectations, away from the pressure of public romance. And that's exactly why it's never discussed, because discussing an arranged marriage publicly invites judgment. People compare it to love marriages. They analyze body language. They search for proof of happiness. Royal families avoid this entirely by keeping it private. Not because they're ashamed, but because marriage in their world is not meant to be validated by strangers. It's meant to function. And it functions best when protected from public opinion. Now here's where it gets interesting. Sheikh Hamdan is known for his poetry. Beautiful, emotional, deeply personal poetry. And people have noticed something. His poetry often talks about longing, about distance, about love that exists in silence. This has created speculation. Is the poetry about his marriage? Is it about someone else? Is it about the past? The truth is, it doesn't matter, because poetry allows emotion to exist without identity. It allows him to express feelings without attaching them to people. This is brilliant, because poetry satisfies the human side. It shows emotion, it shows depth, but it doesn't expose details, it doesn't name names, it doesn't explain situations, it doesn't invite questions about his marriage. Poetry is the release valve. It allows him to share emotion publicly while keeping his personal life completely private. This is why the marriage is never discussed, but the poetry continues, because one protects privacy, the other satisfies humanity, and both can coexist without contradiction. Let me explain something about Middle Eastern royal culture that Western audiences often miss. In this culture, privacy is dignity. Public displays of marriage are not seen as romantic. They're seen as unnecessary exposure. Marriage is sacred, personal, protected. Sharing it openly would be considered disrespectful to the institution itself. This is not coldness, this is cultural value. In Western culture, visibility equals validation. People share marriages publicly to celebrate them. In royal Middle Eastern culture, protection equals respect. The fact that Sheikh Hamdan's marriage is private doesn't mean it's troubled. It means it's being honored according to cultural standards. Another important detail, Sheikha, his wife, is not a public figure. She did not grow up in the spotlight. She did not choose visibility. The decision to keep the marriage private also protects her. It allows her to live without constant scrutiny, without comparison, without the pressure that comes with being married to one of the world's most famous princes. This is not isolation. This is protection. And in royal life, protection is love in action. There's another reason the marriage stays private. Children, Sheikh Hamdan has children. Twins, Rashid and Sheikha, born in 2021. But even this news came quietly, no hospital photos, no birth announcements with details, just a simple statement. Why? Because royal children are protected even more carefully than royal marriages. They did not choose this life. They did not choose visibility. Keeping the marriage private extends that protection. If the marriage were constantly discussed publicly, the children would be pulled into that narrative. Their lives would become content. Their privacy would disappear. Royal families have learned from history. Children raised in extreme public visibility often struggle, so they protect them early, and that protection starts with keeping the marriage and by extension family life completely private. This is not secrecy. This is responsibility. Here's the final reason the marriage is never discussed. Sheikh Hamdan is the crown prince of Dubai. One day he will lead, and leaders cannot afford personal drama. Every detail shared publicly becomes a potential vulnerability. Every photo analyzed, every word interpreted, every silence questioned. By keeping his marriage private, he's protecting his future authority, because authority is not built on personal exposure, it's built on respect, and respect in royal systems comes from boundaries. The world respects what it cannot fully access. This is strategic invisibility. It creates mystique. It prevents scandal. It maintains dignity. When he eventually assumes leadership, his personal life will not be a distraction, because it was never made into public property. This is long-term thinking, the kind of thinking royal families excel at. So when people ask, why is Sheikh Hamdan's marriage never discussed publicly? They're asking the wrong question. The real question is, why would it be? Marriage in royal life is not content, it's not entertainment, it's not validation. It's structure, a private structure that supports a public role. The silence doesn't mean something is wrong. It means something is protected, and protection in this world is the highest form of care. People interpret silence as secrecy, but silence is simply boundary, a boundary that says, this part of my life is not for public consumption, and that boundary should be respected. Because not everything needs to be shared to be real. Not everything needs to be visible to be meaningful. Sheikh Hamdan's marriage is never discussed publicly because it doesn't need to be. It exists, it functions, it supports the future, and that is enough. The world may never see wedding photos, or anniversary posts, or couple interviews, but that doesn't make the marriage less real. It makes it appropriately private. In a world obsessed with visibility, royal families remind us of something important, that the most sacred things are often the most protected, and protection is not silence out of shame, it's silence out of respect. That is why Sheikh Hamdan's marriage is never discussed publicly, not because there's a secret, but because privacy in royal life is a right, not a mystery. If you found this explanation helpful, let me know in the comments. And if you want to understand more about royal life, culture, and the choices powerful families make, subscribe to this channel, because sometimes the most interesting stories are the ones told through silence. Thank you for watching.